I think overall it made me a little more excited and then ultimately more confident having this knowledge. Knowledge is definitely power in this situation. So having this kind of evidence to back up why I was going for specific roles I was going for, how I could articulate my strengths and even speaking to my weaknesses, just having a better overall understanding of myself and what I wanted, I think led me to perform better in interviews and just leave feeling satisfied, whether I got the role or not, just feeling more
Mm.
confident in my approach.
Well, thanks so much, Sydney. I really appreciate you taking the time to do this.
Yeah.
And I feel like I appreciate this because I think there's a lot of people that are in your very similar shoes from you. And so maybe let's start with take us back to kind of where you were earlier and what were you kind of struggling with and what prompted you to think about coaching?
Yeah, so I had been at my first job out of college for about 5.5 years. And I wasn't super happy and I knew I wanted to make a change, but I didn't know how. I was applying to a lot of jobs, getting interviews, but ultimately getting rejected and not really having a great strategy for how I wanted to go about the job search. Um, and I wasn't keeping myself as accountable as I wanted to. So that kind of prompted me to look into coaching and to say I need someone to be a sounding board, keep me accountable to do the tasks that I need to do in order to get a new job, figure out what I want to do. So that's kind of how I landed um, on coaching and reaching out to you and adding you to my network and going from there.
Yeah. And that's a very common struggle. I think once you're in a job, it's really hard to figure out how can you
Yeah.
make that time to do another search. And especially for you, one of the things I remember that stood out was like you felt pretty unclear about like what direction you even wanted to go.
Yeah,
And that can keep you feeling stuck and paralyzed and hard to get that traction. So
totally.
what then prompted you to finally make that investment in yourself? Because I know you've been thinking about this for a couple years.
Longer than I would like to admit. I think I just hit a bit of a rock bottom point where I was like, I need to make a change. I know I want a new role, and I'm just waking up every day feeling like that, my life could be very different if I was doing something else. And I'm so young in my career that, this is now is the time to really invest in myself and figure it out now rather than many more years down the line and having a lot of regrets. So that's really what prompted me to make the change. And I think you had reached out to me on LinkedIn a few years back, so I always had you in my back pocket. Like if I want to have
Hmm.
a coach, I knew I
Hmm.
had a name available.
Oh, nice.
So then I finally, did the thing and reached out, and I'm very, very happy that I did so.
Okay, great. So yeah, let's dovetail into what were some of the things that we either talked through or we did or had you kind of work through that were most helpful for you.
Yeah, I think the way I like to go about job searching is I need very tangible exercises, or just concrete steps to take rather than just saying, oh, I have to look on LinkedIn and scroll through every job posting and just apply. Like I needed a real strategy, but I
Yeah.
also needed to take a step back and say, what do I really want to do? How do I figure out what job is best suited for my personality, and things like that. So I think what was most helpful that we did, was going through those kind of personality tests, job search exercises, breaking down what I like and don't like, and doing that in a very organized way instead of me kind of trying to do it on my own and not have another set of eyes or just person to talk through it with. And then, as you introduced me to people in your network in
Mhm.
similar roles or roles that I was exploring, and getting to talk to them, and one becoming then more comfortable with networking, and then also, of course, gaining these insights from all of these people was super helpful
Mhm.
in helping me understand how I wanted to approach, my next role and what things I should look for in interviews and things like that.
Yeah. Okay. And I love being able to, where I certainly can, connect you to people that I know who are doing similar jobs. And that's something that I'm always happy to do for clients. And I think one of the other things that I noticed, as you recall, when you start, you had to fill out this sort of self-assessment and sort of rank yourself on how you feel around mindset and confidence and the state of your networking skills and all of some of the, and how you feel about communicating about who
Mhm.
you are and your differentiators. And I think one of the things that stood out for me is like even at the halfway point, most of your scores had increased by like 100%, if not more.
Mhm.
And so I think that's really also telling to the work you also put in. So, how do you think that some of that work that you just articulated allowed you to show up differently in your search, in your networking, and ultimately in your interviews?
I think overall it made me a little more excited and then ultimately more confident having this knowledge. Knowledge is definitely power in this situation. So having this kind of evidence to back up why I was going for specific roles, I was going for how I could articulate my strengths and even speaking to my weaknesses, just having a better overall understanding of myself and what I wanted, I think led me to perform better in interviews and just leave feeling satisfied, whether I got the role or not, just feeling more
Mm.
confident in my approach.
Yeah, I think it is so true that I see this time and time again that when people feel more clear about their own story and being able to articulate that, it is such a confidence boost. So I love that. Um, so then let's talk about what were the most meaningful results that happened for you.
Well, I think the biggest one was that I did end up getting a a new job.
Yeah.
I'm about a month into my new role now, and it's in a space that I was really looking to transition into. So I'm very excited for what's to come as I continue my onboarding process and just feel like a huge gold star next to my name that I finally did the thing that I've been wanting to do
Yeah.
for many, many years now.
Yeah. And I think the fact that you also had that confidence and came so prepared, I think allowed you to get even more than the initial range and allowed you to also get a little extra signing bonus that you were
Yes.
able to negotiate as we talk through. Because as you know, I'm very passionate about wanting to make sure women especially negotiate and get as much as they can.
Yes, totally. And that's something that I really don't think I would have had the confidence or like knowledge for how to navigate without your help. So I greatly appreciate that. I was ready to just sign and be like, I wanted a new job. I got the new job. Like, let me not question anything. So
Yeah.
I'm really grateful that you pushed me to take it a bit of a step further so I could be extra happy with my offer.
Yeah, good. And that just, I think that conversation also allowing you to feel like, okay, how do I navigate this very, it is a fraught conversation. It's obviously makes sense. You'd feel nervous, but helping you navigate that is a big part. And one of the things I love is that usually that allows people to kind of recoup their investment in coaching and then some. And so I love that. Um, and what's maybe as we think about wrapping up, what's something you might tell somebody else who's on the fence or thinking about coaching with me specifically?
I think it's so important to invest in yourself if you're on the fence. It is a financial investment, but I think my case here is a clear example of why it's worth it. Just being able to talk to someone, learn and gain all these great resources, whether it's a worksheet or networking contact from you, that's not something that everyone will have access to just on their own. So I think being able to collaborate with you, learn from you, and now have these resources for life has been
Yeah.
extremely helpful and would allow me to say, that's why I would recommend specifically you and coaching to anyone that is on the fence about it.
Yeah, and I love that you made that point around like this is also a skill set that once you sort of know this, now you have this for life. You kind of know the building blocks of what you need as you navigate future career opportunities as you go. So I
Mhm.
am just thrilled. I'm also thrilled that you actually landed your job before we were completed with our session. And so
Yeah,
that gives
yeah.
us an opportunity to think about onboarding, how you set the tone for your first few months, and really starting to move you into this role on really an elevated standpoint. So I am
Mhm.
so thrilled for you. I'm proud of all the work
Thank
that you
you.
put in, and I'm wishing you all the best.
Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks so much for doing this.